Hi, welcome back to my YouTube channel. So, you have found this video because you're most likely going through a spiritual awakening. So, today I'm going, just checking my mic. Okay, perfect, it's on. So, today I'm going to share with you the top 5 signs that you are going through a spiritual awakening. And a lot of the things that I'm about to share with you are based on my own personal journey and my own story. So you can find to see what fits best for you, right? Like what I'm going to share is going to be from perhaps my experience, but what you're experiencing might either be exactly the same or might be similar, but you get what I mean. So let's dive into number 1. The first sign of spiritual awakening is that you start to ask deeper questions and deeper meaning about life. You are not going at your life in the same way that you have ever done before. So perhaps the life that you were living before, you were going to work, you were going to school, you didn't really ask much, you were just following the rhythm and the routine that everyone else in your age group was doing. And the first sign of spiritual awakening is that you stop and you ask yourself, why am I doing this? What is the purpose of doing this? Is there something more to it than this? So that is the first sign of spiritual awakening. And how this came about for me was through a near death accident that I had at 18 years old. A lot of the times, those massive, big triggering events can trigger a spiritual awakening. So it can either be a health crisis, it could be a relationship crisis, it could be a job crisis that you are going through, something that really shook up your regular day routine, your regular emotional rhythm, something that just kind of shakes you out of your own current consciousness and kind of pushing you beyond your current boundaries. And so that's why you start to ask the question of who am I and why am I here? And I found this part to be one of the most meaningful thing ever in a human's life. There's this book called The Top 5 Regrets of the Dying. And in that book, the number one regret of the people that die are that they did not live true to who they are. And it's so real. It's so real, the pain of not living true to ourselves, because we all have the fear and the doubt and the insecurity about, will people accept us? Can we accept ourselves? Can we accept our true selves? Sometimes that thought masquerades as, can other people accept us? But truthfully, can you accept yourself? That is the really, really hard question and practice. So, a lot of the times we run away from ourselves, we avoid ourselves, we don't pursue ourselves, we chase everything else outside of us because we think that by chasing something else outside of us, it would give us that easy fulfillment. We think that the path to chase something outside is easier to obtain. So then we chase that external thing, thinking that it would give us fulfillment. But every pleasure, every dopamine hit from the outside world can only last for a few seconds. Whether it be somebody clapping you on social media, somebody liking your page, somebody liking your picture, somebody give you an encouragement, somebody giving you an applause for your achievement or something like that. All of those things are so temporary and they are so fleeting. When we constantly chase what's out, when we constantly chase what's on the outside world, we continue to forget who we truly are on the inside. We continue to forget to cultivate the inner strength and the stability that we have inside. And so, if our strength and our stability is always reliant on the outside world, then we are at the mercy of whatever that's on the outside world. So, the question of Who am I and why am I here? It brings you back. That journey is inward. That journey brings you back. It kind of twists your attention like, hey, don't look at your current life. Don't look at what you're doing at your current job, what you're doing at your current school or your current relationship. Like, don't look at what's going on the outside. Look within. What's going on within? And that question just twirls it back, right? Back and drop it into yourself. And you come back to yourself and you start to inquire and discover the depth of who you are. And this is the depth of your soul. You start to discover and explore all of those aspects of yourselves. So, this is a very great segue in your life. It often doesn't feel like that because there can be a lot of confusion, there can be a lot of uncertainty and a lack of clarity into who you are and what you are doing. But just know that this spin of a question is actually really great because it brings you back to yourself, and now you are beginning the journey of going inward and really asking the real good and deep questions that are truly meant for you to discover, because you only live once, and this is the only life that you consciously can comprehend and know of. So, living this life true to who you are is absolutely your number one most important job. So, if you're starting to ask these questions, know that you are in the perfect place and you are on such a great path to discovering the answers and the truth that you are about to discover. Sign number 2. The biggest sign for number 2 is definitely the lack of clarity and the confusion and even depression, what Bill Plotkin calls the Death Lodge. So you can refer to his work. I believe it was in The Journey of Soul Initiation or it was in Soulcraft, one of those two books by Bill Plotkin. And I also have this resource in my ebook, Soul Trailblazer, as well. But it's called the Death Lodge. And in the Death Lodge, and this is the biggest sign that I found for spiritual awakening. And this actually happens during my second awakening. So the biggest sign is definitely this feeling of confusion. It's like, who am I? I thought I was this person, but I'm not. What is my life purpose? I thought everything that I created was me, but it's not. So basically, in this state, and you might, resonate with what I'm about to share because maybe you haven't experienced a deep crisis, but maybe it's an internal crisis that you're experiencing instead, right? In the first sign, I talked about the kind of external crisis that happens, but in the second sign, it's more the internal crisis where you are starting to feel all of this heavy negative energy from the life that you've currently built. Like you start to wonder, how come I have everything so perfectly, but I'm not feeling it? My life looks great, but how come I'm not feeling that feeling that I should feel? I'm not feeling the fulfillment that I should feel. So in the second sign, you start to ask those questions, but it's more so you're really experiencing this emotional deep dive of everything that's not working. It seems like everything is falling apart. Everything is just internally feels like you're falling apart. So for me, in my personal experience, this has happened. And I think I was like, for 2, 3 months, I was really questioning everything. At the time, I was running a different kind of business. It was an e-commerce. And I was living in downtown with my best friend. And we had so much fun. And we were running the business together. And like, everything seemed great. I thought I was pursuing what I wanted to do. I thought this was the right path. I thought I was doing my best. Like, I really thought that I was doing it right. But then emotionally on the inside, it was so off. Everything externally was great, but internally it was so off. And so for 2, 3 months straight, I was like in bed, not doing anything. I have no energy. It was like the life energy was sucked out of me. And I was so confused as to why this was happening to me. I, at this time, hadn't found Bill Plotkin's book yet, so I didn't even know what I was going through. I just knew that I was going through this deep plunge of emotional waves, and it was just so intense and it was so heavy. And I was so confused. I was so sad. I was so like bogged down every day. And eventually, I obviously had to take some different course, and I decided to travel to Costa Rica to re experience solo traveling and to really find different answers again. So that was a redirection that actually got me to discover Bill Plotkin's work and started to read about the Death Lodge, and really understand what I was going through. And after reading about the Death Lodge, I started to feel this like relief of like, okay, so it's not just that my life is falling apart for no reason. It's that it's falling apart because the soul is trying to destruct everything that's not aligned so that the soul and alignment can come into place. So that is the biggest sign. For sign number 2 is that you feel this emotional turmoil, like everything is falling apart and you don't know what the heck to do. Sign number 3 is that you're being urged to follow a different path than the one that you are on. This is probably the biggest sign of spiritual awakening, and it can happen for people in different ways. It can be like your relationship related, it can be job related, it can be whatever related, but basically your soul knows that the path that you're on is not working for you. So then the urges that it gives you is to do something completely different. Like it urges you to do something almost out of character, but not. Like deep inside that it's something you either should be doing or you want to do or you are called to do. But it feels so different from your daily normal routine or who people have known you to be. It urges you to kind of edges the boundaries of who you have been and to go into that new territory to discover new aspects of yourself. And that's actually the soul aspects of yourself. And the soul aspects of yourself live outside of your comfort zone. It lives outside of your ordinary life. The soul aspect of yourself, when you first start to discover it, it lives on the edges of what you're uncomfortable with. It lives on the edges of your desire, but also your fear. And that is why it requires so much courage to feel into those edges and to follow the nudges to kind of edge those boundaries, right? Push those territories. So that would be the biggest third sign, is that you feel this sudden urge, this sudden call to like travel, break up with a person, go to this country. Like you do something completely out of this ordinary day-to-day life. And sometimes it can be maybe even smaller than that. You're called to suddenly go to an art class, or you're suddenly called to go to this one fitness class that you've never done before. It's kind of this new urging of something new, but it's not just something small like, oh, this seems interesting, like I like to try that. That's more just discovering on a normal day-to-day, your curiosity. But this one, it feels like, ooh, like that feels like that's gonna change my life. Like that feels a bit like a whole depth that you start to feel. It's not just, oh, well, there's this pottery class and let me just give it a shot. Like it's like that is more on your creative expression and, feeling into your creativity. But it's like this urge, it's kind of like, oof, like there is this depth of mystery that you're called towards, and you're like, I don't know what's there. It feels kind of scary. It feels kind of nerve wracking, but I feel like I should go there. That would be the one. Okay. The fourth one, you're called to change your identity. You feel as if your old self with the current qualities or characteristics that you have no longer work for you. So you start to really see certain patterns that are coming up, repeating themselves, and they are not working. So it could be relationship that you see it, through a relationship, through the mirror of a relationship or multiple relationships that you start to see it. Or it could just be within yourself. You start to acknowledge, maybe could be addictive patterns, could be toxic patterns, could be just self-destructive patterns. For me, it was through a relationship that I was starting to see this pattern. It was the self-abandonment. Like, I had a lot of fear around self-abandonment, and I had attracted a partner at the time that was very distant. And like, it created a lot of pain in my life, and I was going through I was really going through it. Okay. And those patterns came up during that season of spiritual awakening, and it really got me to look deeply into myself and being like, okay, what needs to change about me? Because the patterns that I've been carrying with myself is no longer serving me, it's damaging me. But before that, you may not have seen these patterns, right? They may just kind of go into your blind spots, like they're blinders. You don't see them because you're used to them. They seem real to you. They are just your normal everyday life. But during a spiritual awakening season, it will just show up like, holy, this is a pattern. Like, you start to see them as, oh, I gotta change that. I gotta shift that. So during that season of spiritual awakening, you will start to see real deep patterns that you'll say to yourself, this needs to change. And this is how you know. This is the fourth sign of spiritual awakening. Okay? The fifth sign, I think the fifth sign is more subtle. It's intuitive. And you might start to feel like your connection with a higher power is heightened. So you could be introduced to people, could be strangers, could be friends of friends, could be through your friends, certain practices or avenues or pathways of connecting with a higher consciousness. So maybe it's like, oh, a meditation event that popped up, or oh, this Reiki event, or oh, this yoga event, or oh, this energy healing event, or oh, this tarot reading, or certain practices and pathways start to kind of show up in your consciousness, in your world, and you are now strengthening and amplifying your intuition to be connected to a higher power. And so different practices and pathways come through different people, places, things, and then you just start to feel like your connection is heightened. Maybe you're a bit more sensitive, you feel like other people's energy really affects you, and like you don't really like being in typical crowds, or there are certain groups of people that you used to hang out with but now you can't. Like, your energy start to become more sensitive and more conscious, and that is how you know you are spiritually awakening, because you're not just operating at the same level that you were before, but your nervous system is now seriously changing, right, to adapt to this new internal process that has already started in you. Alright, so I hope that was a very helpful video, and if you liked it, give me a comment, give it a like so that I know. And if you want to learn more about spiritual awakening, discovering your life purpose, that is the core work of my program. I also have an ebook, and I will soon be launching a masterclass as of the time of recording this video. But you can find all of that under the umbrella of Soul Trailblazer. That is what this course is designed for. This pillar is designed for people who are spiritually awakening. They are starting to discover their life purpose, who they really are, their true soul core identity, and why they are here, what they're meant to do. This is the path that I walked on for 7 years. And so all of the teachings, the knowledge, the wisdom is everything that I poured into this pillar called Soul Trailblazer. So you can find that in a free ebook, or you can purchase the course or the masterclass when it becomes available, or you can also join me in my live coaching to really, we can work on this one-on-one together and really tap into your current journey and your current stage. So thank you for watching, and I hope to see you again next time. Bye.